Well, welcome to the show. A bit of a piping legend, if you don't mind me saying, Mr. Gary Nimmo. Hello, Gary. How are you?
Hi Rob, how you doing?
Not so bad, mate. And if anything, we've spoke to you before on the show. You know, we've met you on the grass many times, but this is the first time I get to shine a light in your face
Yeah, very much so.
and just kind of grill you on a load of questions. So, for those of you who don't know who Gary is, do you want to give a little bit of your piping history then? How you first got started out?
Yeah, so I started playing about 25 years ago now. I learned through the Falkirk school system, taught with Logan Tannock. I originally started out, I played with the Royal Borough Stirling Pipe Band.
Go
Um,
on, the
moved,
Sterling. You.
yeah, so started off there. That was my first ever band. Went from there on to Craigmount for a year, Drambuie, and then I was in Llangregor for 8 years. From Llangregor to Sheffield Police. I'd be a few bands in between, and
Yeah.
I think right about there I was also taken from there. About the age of 17, I was also taking on my local band. So I started off as pipe major at Camelin for 5-6 years, and then obviously more latterly I've moved to Liverpool. I was there for 6 years. Played with Triumph Street, and now I'm back at the Vale. So yeah, it's been an interesting 25 years.
That's it. You've had quite a level of experience, Gary, and I'm sure you've got some stories to tell over that time.
Yeah, it's maybe a bit too early for that.
Well, I want to talk to you specifically about moving to the Vale and where you are now. I hope you don't mind me saying, but the Vale of Atholl pipe band is such a historical and famous pipe band, if you don't mind me saying.
No, absolutely. To be honest, it was a huge attraction when it was Ian Duncan who actually phoned and asked if we'd be interested in coming along to teach at the Vale and coming along and helping out. And I think when somebody like Ian phones, it's obviously a huge honour for me. So yeah, I suppose never really having much interaction with the Vale before, but when you spend any time in the band, you just realise how um, well run it is, and obviously the kind of history that say that obviously they're trying to reproduce. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great time to be there.
That's it. And if anything, does that kind of, is it a bit daunting? Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember asking this question once. I think of Emmett Conway when he took over at Shots. He thought that
Yeah,
the weight of the history, was on him. Did you kind of feel that in a way at Vale? Do you know what I mean?
to be honest, not really. I think
Mm.
the entire band and the committee's been incredibly supportive. Obviously, it's Mark Stewart now is the pipe major of the Grade 3, and he's doing fantastic things. He's got a plan in place and how he wants to take the organisation forward. And if I can play a part in that to help, then I'm delighted to be able to do so. So
Fantastic stuff. Well, if anything, then we were dead excited to see you guys this incoming season, but we can't. Thank you, COVID-19. So, how have you guys been coping with the lockdown and everything at the moment?
but I mean, it's tough. I mean, like all bands, we could have Zoom meetings. We've kind of tried to keep members going and try to keep that enthusiasm. We've got some new music out. We've got some of the kind of old classic Vale stuff out as well. So
Nice.
I think what the plan is eventually that we're going to be putting on a concert. So coming out of COVID, that
Oh,
we're actually working towards. We've kind of got a goal and aim, and that's kind of kept people motivated. It's kept us going, and as I say, it's great. There's that links to the past with the classic Vale stuff that we're bringing back. So yeah, as I say,
excellent.
it's really an exciting time to be there.
There you go. So you mentioned concerts. You just kind of sprinkled that one in there.
Yeah, I was
Any
keeping
idea
that
of,
tucked away.
yeah, any idea when that's happening or that, or no plans yet, or?
To be, I mean, it obviously all depends on social distancing and how the
Aye.
lockdown goes forward. And
Yeah.
we had hoped at the end of the year. It's not really likely at the moment. I mean, we'd
No.
much rather do it where people can come in and be comfortable and they can be able to
Yeah.
mix with each other. So yeah, I mean, it's going to happen, but when it happens, it will be. I suppose we'll just
Yeah.
dictate on the lockdown restrictions.
So just watch this space for now, then, Gary. Really, until it
Watch
happens.
this
Yeah.
space, yeah. Watch this
Uh,
space. Certainly as a band, we're getting ready for it, and then when we're able to also meet again, when we're able to put that on, then that's something that we'll certainly be doing. So
yeah.
yeah, it's
Fantastic.
quite hard to know. I suppose
That's
when it's going to be, or even a rough time scale, because who knows what's going to happen with COVID. So
well, that's it exactly. So can I ask then? Obviously, the Vale of Atholl right now at the moment are kind of famous for bringing on youngsters, and your teaching program has been something we've talked about a lot on the show this last while. Can you give us an idea of the kind of scale of just how many young kids are coming through the ranks at the Vale at the moment?
Yeah, so I mean that was the biggest. Well, that was the role that I was brought in to do, was to oversee their youth development program. So at the moment, that there's lots and lots of kids coming through, which is a fantastic thing to see. Even during the COVID time, we've tried to be innovative. We've launched a new program where kids could sign up, and we actually post them out a stylized charter music book. So their first ever lessons happen in lockdown, and they're getting tuition even without having to come to a band practice. So I think it's always been kind of looking at ways we could adapt and take the program forward, and hopefully, as I say, next year we will definitely now see the kind of fruits of that, because a lot of the kids who were in our development classes will be into the grade 4 band, and hopefully being able to up and hit the grass. So.
Fantastic. So we're now going to see, like you said, the fruits of the labour. We're now going to see a load of young kids now playing with the Vale uniform in the Vale of Atholl band then. Fantastic. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's always great for them to see, and success breeds success. When we started, I made a big point of getting a kind of set structure in place, that there was defining points so that kids knew what they need to achieve to move on, to go from the bottom class and the middle class, go from the middle class to the advanced class, and obviously getting out of the advanced class, they want to get in the competition band. So I think once we can set our structure up, we had, I suppose, instant success, because people could buy into it then. Even like parents knew exactly what their kid had to achieve. And yeah, it's been great. It's honestly been great.
There you go. So how have you found piping in the local area though? Has there been much of an uptick locally, or have you kind of branched out, nationwide? Is it mostly all local kids getting involved, or?
Oh, it's 100% local kids. It's, I think, what the furthest away member, well, apart from myself, obviously I'm Falkirk, I've got a bit of drive, but I mean, I'm trying to think. Probably the furthest away member is probably Perth, which is from Pitlochry. It isn't really that far.
No, yeah.
20 odd mile. So,
There you
so
go.
it's great. It's all the kids that we've got coming through are all local kids, which is obviously a great thing to see.
Fantastic stuff. So you did say, Gary, then the future for the Vale is looking good. We were dead excited to see you guys on the grass this year. Did you have any new music and stuff for this competitive season? But that didn't happen.
We didn't. We actually, when I took on the band, it was a case of just taking it on as a going concern. They had a competition set that was in place. I mean, I only joined the band in November, so traditionally we would have probably had it all written out and set up before. And it's taking into account the fact that it's kids, and the fact we have to think about the drummers as well, which are a very similar position with Scott Campbell. He's got a lot of kids here coming through, which is obviously fantastic to see. It's not kind of piping heavy or drumming heavy, it's both sides. So with the lockdown, having a bit more time, we have rewritten the competition set, and that's stuff we've been working through. And I say there's plenty of music for them, so there's no excuses for not being able to practice, that's for sure.
No, that's for sure. Yeah. Oh man, I'm so excited to see you guys next season. Don't even get me started. Like all your bands, not just the band that you're in, but obviously the Great Forge as well. Just the whole heap, because there's been so much happening at the Vale, and with all of that, how the heck do you find time to actually run a business as well?
Sleeping's overrated, I think.
So, Atholl bagpipe specialists, you guys are insanely busy at the moment because you're getting back to business now after lockdown.
Yeah. I mean, we were purely online before the COVID pandemic hit, which has probably stood us in good stead. But I suppose it's like any other business. We're all in the same boat, and how you adapt to the circumstances we're in really will dictate how we move forward. And I think we've just embraced that, the fact that we can't do what we normally do, so how are we going to change things up? So yeah, I mean, it's exciting times there as well. I'm incredibly lucky. I'm delighted the fact that my kind of passion is really my work as well. So it's the old adage that, I suppose, if you find something you enjoy, you never feel like you're working, and that is generally how I feel for most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time.
Well, it is fantastic to see that you guys are now opening the doors again, and you're now training, again, because there's been a long time where people couldn't even buy a roll of hemp anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's great to see. I have to say, you guys are incredible sponsors of podcasts in the piping world. Yeah, the Up to the Line guys are absolutely smashing it at the minute. What are your thoughts on their podcast and their show?
I need to be kind to them now.
You do, yeah.
No, I mean, I'm incredibly proud of that as well. I obviously pitched the idea to Stephen about doing something educational, and that was really because obviously all the teaching that we do, that was the kind of ethos of Atholl Buoy. And I think Stephen was a bit sceptical to start with, but once we started kind of going through things and can put a bit of meat in the bones, I think, well, we can see with the viewing numbers, it seems to be pretty popular. And we've been pretty lucky. We've had some fantastic guests on. We've been able to talk about some topics that maybe don't get covered in other shows. And I suppose that was our kind of niche, that we're looking at the educational side. And yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, and as myself as a learner, it's been fascinating listening to the likes of Steph Burns and like other huge guests that have been on there. It's been fantastic, really. So that's the whole ethos behind the show, though, is education, is teaching people.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, even like you're talking about Steph Burns one, that was something that I learned myself. So like, it's not just designed for learning. There's stuff for anybody to take away. I actually went and obviously read both Steph's books after the podcast as well. So
there you go. Yeah.
So there's always something to take away.
Definitely. And if anything, we encourage our listeners in the Rab Show to go and check it out. You need to listen to this podcast because honestly, it's fantastic. I have to say, though, it's a world away from what the guys were doing at Grace Note Vortex.
Well, I think we've got more episodes already, so I think that's a good step forward. No, it's totally different from the Grace Note Vortex, and to be honest, that's what I wanted when I approached them. I didn't want to come in and obviously take what they already had and try and rebrand it. I wanted to do something original, do something different. So they seem to be enjoying it. And, I think there's maybe a bit less pressure with them as well. So
that's it. The audience is certainly loving it. That's for sure. I'm a massive fan.
Thank you for all the support.
Of course, yeah. Can I ask you then about the tutor book that came from Atholl Buoy? Did you put this book together yourself completely from scratch, or how did it all come about?
Yes, no, I put it together completely from scratch. So, I mean, I've worked in schools here for 18 years now, which is, make me feel old now. But no, I've worked in schools for 18 years, and it's based on that experience. I think all the kind of teaching programs that we run, it needs to have a set structure. And we've kind of touched on that with the Vale, that when kids and especially parents understand what the levels are and what's required to move forward, or kind of exactly what you're looking for them to do, kids absolutely learn quicker, and they understand it and they get the enjoyment back out of it. And that's the reason why we've released it. It was one of these things that we've spent so long, or so many kids we've taught over the years, and it's stuff we've just refined and tried to make it a bit easier for people. And I suppose modernised it as well. A lot of the tunes that we cover now is stuff that people would recognise. Even we're talking about kids, it's suitable for adults as well. So yeah, I mean, it's been great. The feedback from it so far has been superb. I say that it's not actually officially released yet. We put it up, saying that we had the printed copies, and then like anybody who releases music, you get the printed copies and you go through it with your highlighter, and before you know it, you've got 2 A4 pages of revisions. And, but yeah, no, I'm really delighted to it. And I think the only person I'll probably give a wee shout out to is Robert Scott, who's the Hoyk pipe band, who actually done all the typesetting for me. Robert's a great friend and done all our company stuff for years. But he's obviously been further on the lockdown, so had a wee bit of time to help out and do this stuff, it's been great.
Fantastic stuff. And if anything, I'm a learner now myself. You might not have known that. I've lifted the chapter.
I know that.
Yeah.
Avid listener of the show.
Oh God. Well, I've kind of been making that transition now from practice chanter till actually lifting the instrument for the first time. Is that covered in the book, that whole transition process, or?
It comes up to the point of transition. So it's geared for 13, 14 tunes in the book. And it's really just a case of I suppose, establishing all the fundamentals, making sure we're getting the embellishments, the grace notes, the triplets, doublings, and make sure we're getting a strong basis for that before we moved on to the pipes. And I've actually heard some videos of you playing, or I've heard wee clips in that as well. So
Oh
um,
no.
no, not at all, not at all. It doesn't matter who you are. We were all that level at one point. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
some of it's shocking.
no, but nobody starts in this journey being perfect. Nobody starts in this journey being able to play bagpipes or doing stuff like that. We all have to learn,
Yeah,
and I think that's what it is. It's just kind of take it one step at a time. So
that's it. We'll get there eventually. I will learn how to
absolutely.
blow steady and not die after 2 minutes.
Yeah, that maybe takes a wee bit longer. Yeah, but
If anything else, well, I'm not going to grill you. I've got one of the best shooters in the piping game. Can I ask then about, I don't know, developing muscles that I've never used before as a drummer? Like I can
yeah,
play. I've said this in the podcast before. I could play for 20 minutes, half an hour or so, and after a while, my face is aching.
yeah.
Like it's just and I can't blow anymore. You know, I have the puff, I can have the stamina, I could do it, but my face just
Right,
don't
I
know what
mean,
it is.
obviously, think back to your drumming career when you first started, when you first picked up the sticks. Could you
Yeah.
stand or could you sit and play for 20 minutes doing that?
No, that's a good point actually.
But
No.
probably not, and
Yeah.
it takes time. That's just your muscle development, and yeah, and I say this is why it takes so long to kind of reach that proficiency level with bagpipes. That it's
Mm.
not just a case of everybody thinks maybe just learning the instrument or learning the notes or learning these parts. And then
Yeah.
you go into the bagpipes, and it's a whole new world again that you have to build yourself up and get the muscle capacity in the arm and obviously the cheeks as well. That, as you say, you don't really use otherwise.
No,
So
no,
that's
that's it.
just
And
another
for
of the challenging things in the bagpipes.
yeah, and if anything, I took the wind out of my sails. For a while I was playing tunes on the Chandler and I thought, this is great, you know, the music's making sense and I'm actually playing tunes that I enjoy. I thought, class, let's get these things under my arm. And then suddenly it was like, nah, you know nothing, Rob, shut your face.
I say when you move on to the bagpipes, it's usually quite a hard transition
Yeah.
because I mean, if you can imagine, if we say right, okay, we're going to learn the bagpipes, and we start in the bagpipes, that
Well,
whole thing of worry about could they blowing the bag up, get the bag underneath the arm, and that's before we play notes. So
yeah.
it's almost like a learning instrument twice, if you like. But no, my advice would be just stick at it. And I say, listen to Andrew. Andrew's a fantastic shooter, so
Yes, the
he'll.
patience of an absolute saint, I have to say.
Oh, absolutely. So I mean, he'll serve you well. I say, I look forward to seeing you in the grass next year as well. So
That's what Andrew keeps threatening, by the way. He keeps saying, oh, Rob, we'll get you on the grass. I'm like, nah, I'm quite happy playing in my garage, squeaking and squawking.
no, I think music's about the enjoyment of it, and that's the fundamental of all music that we play. It has to be about enjoyment. So
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
just keep at it because the enjoyment comes once you kind of get through this difficult stage. So
well, that's it. Who knows? I might be on the grass someday, playing Green Hills badly. Yeah. So, can I ask you about Akataburi then? What is the future for the business at the moment? You guys are just concentrating solely in online retail, not right?
well, yeah, I mean, we still have our premises, but I mean, the nature of people buying now. How many people now would quite quickly go into Amazon and buy stuff, or quite quickly just go into a
Yeah.
website and it's there in a day or two,
Mm-hmm.
and that is just unfortunate the way that life's working now. So we're just embracing it. We still have the same service. If people want to come in, they're more than welcome. That we're still welcoming people along. But yeah, I think it's one of these things where um, what was right for us at the time and what the customer wanted was to be able to have a good website, be able to have a good range of stock, be able to click that button and it arrive in a quick time. So that was really our ethos and what we're trying to do. We launched that, I think, just at the end of the lockdown there. So we're working through all our products that if they order it before 2 p.m., it's same day dispatch, which is very
That's
good in
that's
our
quick.
industry.
That's quick.
Yeah. So I mean, we've invested a lot in stock. We've invested a lot in making sure that we keep the products that people want or the products that people need. Because I think ultimately, if you burst your pipe bag or if the top skill in your drum goes, you don't want to wait a week for another one to come. You want it to be kind of there tomorrow. You want it there, well, ASAP. So yeah,
Yeah,
we'll try to embrace these kind of new changes, I suppose, in the commerce and the way that people want to shop. So
that's
yeah,
it.
it's been exciting. It's been
Well,
very exciting.
by way of a shameless plug, go and check out Akataburi Bagpipe Specialists for all your piping and drumming needs. There you go. Using my radio voice there, like that.
No, I like that. I like that. You should do
So
a podcast.
I should do, yeah, I should do. Aye. Can I ask then, with all of your years of experience, you've obviously been a player under many great pipe majors, but now you're a pipe major yourself. Can you tell us what you think the main differences are between being a player and being a pipe major?
There's a lot more stress being the leader, that's for sure. Um, you know what? I mean, you're right. I played under some fantastic leaders, and I think for that, the biggest difference is probably in preparation. And I think that's what makes great leaders. That they know, like, they're not going to the park on a Saturday to do any work. They're going there just to refine what they've got, get set up and go. That all the work's done.
Yeah.
Whereas the player, I suppose that's a huge part of that as well. I suppose your preparation. If I go into the band hall as a pipe major, and I've maybe not learnt the tunes properly, or I've maybe kind of not played my pipes for a week, there is no I'm in charge, so not that I would do that, but I suppose as a player in the band, yeah, if you kind of do that at any kind of level, if you've not looked half the instrument with that, then you're going to be sitting at the side watching for that night. So
that's it.
I
So
suppose
you kind of lead by example, then, Gary, that kind of thing. Yeah.
oh, absolutely, you've got to, and I think that's a huge part of education, that people are going to follow your lead. Talking at the Vale, that like, you have all these kids that are, I suppose, at that age where they're moldable, that if you set a good example to them now, that's what they're going to know. That's how they're going to move forward. And yeah, so I think it's most certainly leading by example.
There you go. Yeah. So I need to ask you a couple of Big Rab Show staples, but before that, I kind of a question on your thoughts on 2021. How do you think next season's going to look if we are allowed back on the grass again?
Well, I mean, it's a worrying one, because I was on the Strathfallen webinar and listening to John Hughes talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose maybe naively a moment, but I didn't realise just how bad it may still be, and obviously the processes we need to put in place for social distancing. If it does go ahead, by the sounds of it, it's not going to be in the kind of pipe band format that we know. So yeah, I'm going to watch on with great interest to see how that all transpires. But yeah,
It's an interesting one, I think.
it's very interesting.
Yeah. I know there's been talk about getting rid of the circle altogether, maybe concert formation, or reducing numbers in bands. There's been so many different suggestions. It's difficult to know what way it's going to go.
Well, that's it. I mean, I'm lucky enough I play with Bagad Camper in Brittany. So all the performances in concert formation, but that's the kind of culture of it there. That's what it always is. Where pipe bands, I think, as a marching band, I think taking away the marching into the circle part, you kind of lose a bit of tradition for me. I'm quite a traditionalist, and I think it'd be quite depressing, to be honest, if that's the way it went. But you can understand that people are going to have to do what they can do just to, I suppose, to survive and to move through this period.
Yeah, well, that's it. You kind of lose that, as you say, the tradition of the quick march. Yeah. I never thought of it that way, Gary. You're quite right. Yeah. I don't know. It's going to be dead interesting, I think. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it all pans out. But, right, some Big Rab Show staples for you, mate. What's your favourite cheese, Gary?
Oh, I think I've been asked this before by you.
I can't remember your answer, but that's the problem. I know I did answer this, but it was in a very soggy Lurgan Park, I think.
That's right, yeah. That's right. I'm quite a basic guy, so I'm probably a red Leicester.
Good man. Yep, nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah,
no, not at all.
Good stuff. And this is just a new Big Rab Show staple, but what has been your most embarrassing moment in piping and drumming? Any moment that really stands out to you? That's a tough question.
It's a tough one. To be honest, there's nothing that really stands out.
I suppose I can see the messages coming in now. I can see the messages.
Phone will be going crazy. No, I think probably one of the funniest ones. When I was a younger pipe major, so this is I must only be 18, 19. Let's say I took on my local band where I grew up, and I remember we being at Thornton Games over in Fife. We were doing all the kind of local games, a young band as well, and it was the late Bob Shepherd was judging, and this will live with me until the day I die. and things were going well. We were sounding good in final tune. The usual gets on the party, young band, kind of panicking. So we're kind of tight in the circle. And it was the guy to my right, and you could hear him cutting out. And he's kind of choking and missing it. And I remember, and I kind of screamed at him in the circle. But unbeknown to me, Bob was like literally there, so he was right behind me. So for anyone who's ever done the Thornton Games, at the end of the day, there's a kind of march past, but you have to walk around the street. So we're coming back in, and of course, here's Bob sitting with a cigar, and he's just, come here. And you're like, oh no, here we go. Like, see if he ever does that again, make sure he never plays again. So I suppose I'll not use the guy's name because he's still playing, but it's one of those stories that as a young naive pipe major just will live with me forever. We'll not embarrass the boy by saying who it is, but
they know who they are if they're listening.
They know who they are, yeah. And they're listening to the show. So
oh no, they're probably cringing right now.
Yeah.
Oh no, Rob. Well, Gary, thanks a million for chatting to us on the show, man. And if anything, I might well pick your brains in future about, the whole education thing and all of that. But you can get all of that right now on the Up to the Line Pipe Band podcast, sponsored by Actabui.
Well, thank you very much for having us on, Rob. It's been a pleasure.
No problem at all, Gary. Thanks a million.
No worries. Thank you.